Today on the Extreme Channel, we are looking at a movie piece. This is from the movie Total Recall with Arnold Schwarzenegger. This is Kuato, the leader of the Resistance. Very, very short-lived scene. We heard about him the entire movie, but today we're going to look at a statue of this amazing character from this sci-fi film. Now, on a secondary note, they did remake this film with Colin Farrell and Kate Beckinsale, and I watched it, but I can't remember it at all. Enough about that. Let's look at Kuato. As the Extreme Channel is pushing towards 50,000 subscribers, these are just a few of the statues we are giving away on the journey there. If you want to know how to win one, stay tuned for later in the video. Hey, my name is Mr. X. Welcome to the Extreme Channel. I know there's one of you out there that were screaming at your TV that clearly this is not Kuato. Yes, I know this is from Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. This is the Shredder. He is the Faja of the four Ninja Turtles and their mentor. Oh, sorry. Even though I consider myself a nerd, I love fucking with nerds. So today we are looking at Krang. This statue is made by a company called PCS, and it's part of an entire line of statues from their animated Turtles line. That's right, if you've been watching the channel lately, you know that this is the fourth or fifth TMNT piece that I've gotten to the collection, and I am just loving these. I went on a tour of Jem Mint's house. You can check out the video here, and I saw his entire turtle collection, and it was beyond impressive. One of the most impressive was actually this guy. Now, I didn't intend on getting these. However, I tune into Sideshow Seconds. What that is it's a secondary website for Sideshow Collectibles, who's the main distributor for PCS. And if they have a damaged box, they will give you 10 to 15% off. I don't give a shit about the boxes, so I've been slowly picking these pieces up from Sideshow Seconds. On another note, if you're ever interested in buying statues, whether it's from Sideshow or other distributors, there is affiliate links in the description below. What that is that means if you use those links, it doesn't cost you anything, but I get a kickback. Now, I'd love to tell you it's all for the channel and it helps the channel. It doesn't. I would continue with the channel and continue buying equipment and statues, whether you buy that or not. It's free money for you to give and free money for me to receive. So if you're willing to do that or give some BJs, please proceed. But anyway, back to Krang. So if you're unfamiliar, the animated series of the Turtles was, I think, from like 1986, 1987 for like 10 years. A lot of us grew up with it. It was Saturday morning cartoons. And Krang, who is also featured in the Michael Bay Turtle movies, like in 2016, 2018, I think it was, is an alien, obviously. He's an alien, and he is just a huge brain, super smart, supposedly. Though he makes some pretty goofy decisions in the animated series. And this is his body. Now, since he's just a brain, this big suit is actually a robot or an android. It's kind of like his vessel. He pilots it. And it's super strong as well. So he has the brains, he has the brawn, he has it all. And like I said, he's a really quirky character. In the actual animated series, and I think even in the movie, he's kind of Shredder's boss, but Shredder hates him. They have this loose affiliation. It's all very cats in the cradle and drum. I don't really care. Now, as you see, there's a secondary Krang over here. Obviously, these two are not meant to be displayed together. We'll talk a little bit more about that when we get to design and value of the piece. So we're going to dive in, we're going to do an extreme review, and if you've been watching these reviews, you know that these are actually based off of that animated series. So you're not going to find like micro detail and stuff you would normally look for in like a lot of the statues of the back with a lot of realism. This is supposed to be, if we took those pieces off that 2D animation, what would they look like in real life? So let's look at that, starting with concept of this piece. And while it's not unique or original, it's exactly what you want if you want a Krang from the animated series. Now, a lot of these bases actually match, but this one has a few different hues and colors we'll talk about in paint and sculpt, but there is an under part of the ground here with mud, and then on top of that is broken up concrete, and then you see what I assume is part of the Technodrome, so that's a big spaceship type shuttle that Shredder actually pilots, and usually Krang's inside, and his android here is very reminiscent to the show. I mean, it looks absolutely just like it. He has smashed it because he's a very heavy, very big, very powerful android. And as you move up, you see Krang piloting on the inside this disgusting bubble yum type creature. So cool. I loved this growing up, and I still love it as an adult. And as you move up, for some reason, he's pointing. I fucking hate pointing on statues. I think it's stupid. I don't know why they do it. But I could see Krang telling other people what to do, so I will forgive it on this, although I still do not like it. And you see the classic portrait with the antenna on top. Just such a goofy looking android that he's trying to semi-look human. And again, it points to the fact that he's supposed to be this great brainiac, but he's kind of stupid. So I think the concept's great. I'm not giving it a 5 out of 5 because it really bothers me he's pointing, so I give it a 4 out of 5. Still above average, and it's exactly what I want from the animated series. Design, they're not getting really fancy with these, and PCS typically doesn't. That's who manufactured this statue. PCS has really elevated their game last few years. I'm more and more impressed every statue I get. And it seems like I keep saying certain words multiple times, and I don't know why I'm doing that. So let me think about that, and you can look at the unboxing and assembly. It was from Sideshow Seconds. There was a substitute outer shipper, but this is the art box that they all come with. PCS is using straps instead of tape, which I appreciate. I think it's a little bit more clean. And this was one layer for everything. It was a very big box. It was smaller than Shredder, which kind of blew my mind. But you can see all the pieces laid out here. So I want to do something I've never done before. Unfortunately, the assembly video was destroyed. I don't know, computer bug or whatever. So I'm going to kind of show you how it goes together. So there's keys. Each of his hands go in a key, both the pointing hand, then the other one. Pretty strong magnets. His head is the same way. His body is all one piece. It's very, very heavy. Krang does come out. Magnet in the back to hold him in. And that's it for him. So essentially, he is just the 5 pieces. His 2 hands, his head, Krang, and his body. This right here is 3 different pieces. Now first, there is a magnet that connects and a key that connects Krang to this tripod, this motorized tripod. And then this is something, just a different display base you can set him on. To me, this isn't needed. I don't need it at all, but it's cool they included it if you wanted to match it right next to that or some other turts. But one thing I would say, if this costs extra money, then they should have went without it because it sits fine without that. So really, that's the assembly. Pretty easy. I apologize. I'm editing it right now, and for some reason, the video will not play of the normal assembly, but there you go. So what you see is what you get, with the exception of the additional Krang body over here. That is for the exclusive version only. They have 2 versions, regular and exclusive. So this is the regular. The exclusive comes with that. We'll talk more about that in value. Let's measure him. So he is a big character in real life. This is quarter scale, 1/4 scale, meaning it's supposed to be 4 times smaller than a real life version. So the deepest part is about 18 inches, or sorry, the widest part 18, the deepest about 13. And then up to his antenna, you're just about 23 1/4, 23 1/2. For exact dimensions, again, click on some of those links below and give me the money. Now, everything fit really well. There's no issues. One thing I did like is as I inserted Krang, I don't know if you saw it, but on the top and bottom, they have felt pads so as not to scratch up. So if you wanted to, you technically could display him like this with Krang on the side. Although it does show that nasty magnet, which I don't know if that's needed because this has pretty significant weight to it, but there is a magnet on the back of this. So I guess that is a secondary display option. And again, this is with the exclusive only, so that's kind of cool too. It's like he got out of his Android and is walking. I might consider displaying it that way actually, now that I think about it. Now, one of the things with jumping into this Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle line, I've been redoing my entire collection for the past year, really. I have a room tour coming next month, and I've really gone like less is more. Now, don't get me wrong, I still own a shit ton of statues. This is really throwing me off my game of where I'm going to put my entire turtle collection. And the reason I tell you all that is you definitely want to see the room tour. So make sure you've not only liked this video, but you sub to the channel and hit that bell notification. Now, I think design, they could have given him a different option for his hand. And a lot of the others have some of the robots around. There's no robots on this, which I'm okay with, but could have been something different. So I think it's a 4 out of 5. Really, it's not super elaborate, so you can't give him a lot for that, but there's not really anything wrong with it. Paint and sculpt. I don't know about this one, especially compared to some of the others. Check out what I'm talking about. So just like the other reviews, you got to remember a few things. Number one is this is supposed to be a 2D animation brought to life. Number two, the robot's supposed to look quirky and stupid. So, base. You know what's crazy about this is it didn't have the same stupid mud effect that the other ones had. I like this better. Not only is the dirt a little bit lighter, but you see more texture on the rocks, which to me gives it a little bit more realism. Now, just like the other ones, you do see a lot of white spots. I haven't dusted it yet. And then you're even going to see like a few wet spots or like bleed over. Same exact thing. So definitely some quality issues that I'm getting more and more concerned with PCS. Technodrome, partially destroyed. I love the indentation of the footprint. I think that's very cool. It shows again how powerful his robot is, despite pretty basic. Concrete on top looks good, I think. I like how it is actual squares, but then cracks all over from the damage from the Technodrome and the battle that's going on. Now Krang's body, if you will, very basic. You know, you're not going to find a lot of micro detail or anything like that, but I like how it's trying to look like a human, but you know that it's not from, you know, some of the different nodules in there, an antenna on the top. Pretty cool. The skin tone, I think, is pretty spot on to the show. Now, of course, you got to remember when you're talking about bringing 2D animations into real life, everyone's TV broadcasted a little bit differently, especially if you think of TVs from the 1980s to TVs today. But even with that, you know, it's a robot, yet it's wearing clothing. So you can see the folds and the creases in the clothing. They put some black shadowing on there as well. Apparently that's his poop hole. But I like it a lot. I like this yellow color. It's not too big birdie, if you will. And obviously it's, you know, from the movie, but still. The paint, there is a little bit of bleed over in a few areas. Nothing that I'm going to lose sleep about. I loved how easy Krang sit in there. And I love the expression in his face. I love the purple they added. You know, right where you would think like his temples where he got mad. These eyes are also decals as well, and you can see on the top where they kind of fit in. A little bit of a miss, but nothing that I would die over micro-analyzing. I wish they would have done more, even if it was decals with the computerized aspects on the inside. So I think that's a little bit of a miss. Again, kind of picking this apart. The armor looks good. Again, not the cleanest of paint right there. You can see it. I like the gray color. It's good neutral tones, I feel, on all the paint throughout. Now, this Krang, and we'll come back to the robot, looks even better. You can see those purple veins running throughout, the whole blob of him. This guy alone, you know, if you didn't have the space, I wish they would have sold this separately. I still want it all, but I would see for other collectors, it'd be cool just to have that as a backdrop to the entire collection instead of having to go the whole route of, you know, the price on this and the size and how much room it takes up. And obviously it doesn't make sense to have them both as we talked about, but it is a cool feature and I think they did a great job. I love the bubblegum pink. Again, very accurate to the animated series, I think. So, a little bit of a weird line in his armpit there that I'm not feeling. And I think it's the way it was assembled together. See it right there, that extra like little lip. So I think that's more of a defect than a paint or sculpt issue, kind of an assembly defect. And again, you can't see, you can see the shine there. Some more bleed over in the paint, some scratches here on the back. Yeah, so a lot of quality issues. I do like how they darkened where his elbows are, again, trying to make this thing look human. But while paint and sculpt, I'd say, is probably the weakest on this of all of the ones I've seen, for a lot of the reasons we pointed out. But I still love the character. Paint, you know, I have to keep in mind it's based off the 2D animation, so for that reason I'm giving it a 3. I think if this was like a realistic take, it would definitely be a 2. And I think the same thing can be said about the sculpt. Krang looks really good, and with the paint he does too, other than the decals for the eyes. I gotta give him that, but I'm gonna give him a 3. Now keep in mind, 3 on my scale is good. It's, you get what you pay for. It meets expectations, it just doesn't exceed it. Which is so funny because I thought he would be the one I liked the most. And I don't know, he might be the one I like the least, but I still like him. Which I better like him because he commands a big price tag. Well, I got 15% off. He retails for like $930. That is a lot of money for a PCS quarter scale. Although I did recently pay like $1,200 for their Pumpkinhead, this right here. Now keep in mind, all these prices don't include shipping or tax. So they made 300 of these with the additional Krang. They made 500 of just this and you could save $50. Although in my opinion, this is definitely worth $50. But it's not needed either. So I don't like the value on this. And he's still available. You know, obviously the Turtles are really popular. Krang, not as much. Although I think the generation is right. For people in their 30s, 40s, and 50s who actually watched this growing up, who actually have money now, that's kind of what this is. It's re-realizing your childhood nostalgia and fantasies. I think they would really want this. However, the fact that they still have them up for sale says something. So I think at best the value is a 3 out of 5, maybe even a 2 out of 5. I think that's too big of a price tag on this piece. Probably should have been around $7.50 or so in my opinion. You know what? Because I make the rules, it's a 2 out of 5 on value for this. We're going to change that. I've never done that before. I've never changed it mid. Anywho, does he have the X factor? Is he a 5 out of 5 statue? You know, I think my hype for him was the most. When I was at Jem's house, I didn't, look at each one with detail. I just briefly walked by and I took another few looks later while Jem was sleeping and I snuck into his house. I think I'm disappointed, but it's still good. I'm going to give this a 3 out of 5 as an overall statue, which really blows my mind because I thought it would be much better than that. Definitely going to keep him. Definitely like him a lot, but it meets my expectations. I was a little disappointed because my hype was higher, but that's all shit going on in my head. And I gotta tell you, let's be honest, there's not much going on up there. We will be giving all of these statues away, plus additional ones at every 5,000 subscriber milestone. To win one of these statues, all you have to do is make sure you've liked this video, you've subscribed to the channel, you've hit that bell notification, and then just drop a comment below. Every 5,000 subscriber milestone, we are going to do a random drawing and pick a random comment and give one of these statues away, plus some additional ones I'm not showing right now. The more videos you comment on, the higher your chances are to win. Hey, thank you for tuning in. I know this was a weird review. I didn't even plan on doing it. And yes, I've been drinking. So you know what I'm going to say. Like, subscribe, take care, molest yourself.